You know that feeling? You're telling a story, and then someone just hijacks it?
They jump in, thinking they're relating, but really, they're making it all about them.
It doesn't feel like they're connecting, right? It actually feels like they just stole something. Turns out there's a name for this. It all comes down to two types of responses. First, there's the support response. This is the good one. It keeps the spotlight on you.
It's a question that says, I'm listening, tell me more. It validates your experience. And then you have the shift response. This is where they grab the spotlight for themselves.
So one supports the conversation, the other one shifts it. That's the whole game right there.
So what is this social glitch really? Why does it happen so often?
It's called conversational narcissism, and honestly, a lot of us do it without even realizing.
Now, it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's just social anxiety or even misplaced enthusiasm.
Let's think about it like this. A good conversation is basically a game of catch. You throw the ball, you share something, but instead of throwing it back, they just pocket it.
So, what happens to the conversation when someone does that? It totally changes things.
A shift response is a clear signal that they're not really interested in a back and forth.
What they actually want isn't a conversation partner. They're looking for an audience.
They literally take what should be a dialogue and turn it into their own personal monologue.
And in that moment, you stop being a participant. You just become a prop for their story.
Okay, so let's flip this around. Time for a little self-reflection.
It's a tough question, but we gotta ask it. Are you ever the conversational thief?
Just noticing this pattern in yourself and in others is the key to having better conversations. So next time, just ask yourself this. When I'm listening, whose story am I trying to tell?
The Humblebrag. I'm sure you've heard this, right? It sounds like a complaint, but it's totally a boast.
Or how about this one? It's a brag just dressed up to look like humility.
So, what's actually going on here? And why is it so irritating?
So let's break it down. A humblebrag is just a boast wearing a mask of humility.
It's all about sending two totally conflicting signals at the exact same time.
And that conflict is what sets off this massive alarm bell in our brains.
So your brain actually has this built-in cheater detection system. It's an evolutionary thing.
Okay, here's how it works. First, your brain spots the conflict. The boast and the complaint just don't line up. Then, it flags this as being dishonest on purpose. It knows what's up. And boom, that triggers a real gut reaction. You're literally disgusted by it.
This really gets to the core difference between just bragging and, well, humble bragging. Look, a straight-up brag might be arrogant, but at least it's honest, right? But the humble brag feels totally manipulative, and that's really the big issue.
Because at the end of the day, it's an insult to your intelligence. They think you'll fall for it.
I love this quote. Basically, they're trying to play you, but they're not even smart enough to pull it off.
So yeah, all of this makes the Humblebrag maybe the worst self-promotion strategy ever.
Which leaves us with one final thought. Is it just better to be arrogant than a bad manipulator?
You know that feeling, right? But what's actually happening in your body to cause this reaction?
It's like the lights just dim when they walk in. They complain about, well, everything.
And get this, it's not just a feeling. There's a real scientific term for what's going on.
It's called emotional contagion. As social creatures, we're just hardwired to mirror people's emotions.
And the reason why? It's all thanks to our mirror neuron system.
Put simply, if they're tense, you start to feel tense. Your brain just tries on the feeling.
So, what happens when this helpful social tool is mirroring non-stop negativity? That's where things get bad.
Because a chronic complainer is, and I'm not kidding, basically a biological hazard to you. To your brain, all that constant distress feels like a threat, almost like a virus.
It's a chain reaction. They broadcast negativity, your brain tags it as a threat, and you get exhausted.
You feel so drained because your body is literally carrying their emotional weight for them. And this totally explains that instant gut reaction we have, right? The one we feel guilty about?
But let's be clear, this isn't a character flaw. It is pure self-preservation kicking in.
Think of it as your brain's own social distancing protocol. It's identifying a major stress source.
Your mind is literally just trying to stop your own emotional battery from being totally zapped.
So now that you know the science, the real question is, how are you going to protect your energy?
Okay, let's talk about that weird social glitch you've probably felt but couldn't quite name. It's a total paradox, right? Someone's super kind, and yet your internal alarms just go off.
Yeah, you know the type. On the surface, they just seem, well, perfect.
I mean, they agree with everything you say, like never a single challenge.
It feels like their whole personality is just built to be agreeable. No rough edges.
And that desperation to please, it's just a lot. It can feel pretty unsettling. And yet, after all that, you just don't trust them. Something in your gut feels off.
So why does something so positive feel so negative? Let's actually get into it.
Well, it has a name. Inspired by robotics, the uncanny valley of kindness. See, just like in robotics, when something is almost human, it's creepy. Same with people.
Basically, a person like this shows zero friction. No pushback, no boundaries, nothing. And that total lack of friction, it just doesn't feel human. So our brain flags it.
And our brain immediately asks that one simple question: what do they really want?
We start to see their niceness less like a gift and more like a transaction.
So your brain connects the dots. Zero friction means a hidden motive. A debt is being created.
What it really comes down to is this: you feel like you're talking to a mask, not a person.
And what do masks do? They hide things. You can't connect with something that isn't real.
So what do real relationships actually need? A little bit of friction and some boundaries.
You gotta remember, friction and boundaries, they're features, not bugs. They're signs of a real person.
So the next time you feel it, ask yourself this: is their kindness a currency or a connection?
Let's talk about the weird friction of eye contact. You know, when it gets a little too intense. We've all been there. That feeling of being totally pinned by someone's gaze. It's so uncomfortable.
I mean, it's our most powerful nonverbal tool. It's how we build those deep human connections.
But yeah, there's a super fine line. Get the dosage wrong and that connection just turns weird.
So what happens when that dosage is off? Well, you get this social glitch called the intensity error.
And it looks like this. They lock eyes, don't blink, and hold on just a few seconds too long.
Basically, it's a failure in what experts call proxemics. You know, the unspoken rules of personal space.
But why does it feel so threatening? Well, because it's not just social. It's a primal signal.
In the animal kingdom, that kind of unblinking stare means one of two things: mating or killing.
Either way, it signals incredible arousal and focus. Our ancient brain is hardwired to pay attention. So when a casual acquaintance does it, yep, your brain immediately flags it as a potential threat.
And the part of your brain ringing that alarm? That's your amygdala, the ancient threat detector. And boom, this triggers a rapid-fire, 3-step response right inside your body.
So what you've got here is a huge unspoken miscommunication, a total disconnect. They're trying to say, I'm confident, but your primal brain, it just hears, I am hunting.
And that's why you feel that powerful, gut-level need to look away and break that target lock.
It really makes you wonder, right? What is your gaze actually saying to other people?
Let's talk about that super awkward habit, name dropping. You know, what's it really signaling?
Oh yeah, we've all been there. Someone casually drops the name of a super famous person.
So why does it feel so cringy? It's supposed to be impressive, right?
It all comes down to something called signaling theory. We're all trying to show our worth.
Basically, they're trying to borrow a little bit of that person's status, hoping it rubs off.
But what they think they're signaling is not what you're hearing at all. It's what's known as a costly signal. Instead of showing high status, it just screams insecurity. And think about it. People with real power, they never have to talk about it.
Check out this example. The king has real power, so he says nothing. It's just understood.
So what's the glitch? It all points to a desperate need for other people's approval.
And our brains decode this signal like instantly. It actually lowers their status in our eyes.
They're pretty much admitting they need someone else's shine to seem interesting.
As one source puts it, it's like using people as a crutch for a limp personality.
So the most powerful signal of confidence? Well, it's not having to signal at all.
It kind of makes you think, right? What signals are you sending out there?